The first time I noticed something was wrong about Marco Rossi, it was 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, and he ordered his drink like a man ordering a coffin. I'd been bartending at Velvet for 3 years, long enough to recognize the regulars, their rhythms, their tells. But Marco was different. He didn't belong in the category of regular at all. He belonged in a category I hadn't invented yet. He sat in the corner booth, the one with the burgundy leather that faced both exits. Never had his back to the door, never relaxed his shoulders. His suit probably cost more than my monthly rent. Charcoal gray, with a silk tie, the color of old blood. The kind of man who didn't sweat through fabric. "Neat," he'd said, sliding 2 fingers across the mahogany bar. His voice didn't match his appearance. It wasn't sharp or commanding. It was controlled, like someone had filed down every rough edge and sealed it under glass. Whatever's oldest. I'd poured him a 1,995 Macallan. He'd nodded, a micro movement, and disappeared back into his booth. That was 3 weeks ago. Now, on this particular Tuesday, something had shifted. Marco was different. He arrived at the same time, 2:45 a.m., ordered the same drink, but his hands were trembling, slightly, barely perceptible. But I've poured drinks for shaking hands before: divorces, deaths, job losses. This wasn't that kind of tremor. This was rage, compressed and frozen under pressure. He drank the first pour in 2 swallows. I'd never seen him drink faster than a sip every 5 minutes. When he signaled for another without looking, I didn't ask questions. I poured. "My name's Arya, and I have a policy. I watch people. I listen. I don't get involved." Except I was already involved. I just didn't know it yet. The bar was emptying. It was late enough that only the dangerous people remained. A group of men in the far corner, suits without souls. A woman with a black eye and jewelry that didn't match her trembling. Marco, in his corner, the gravity well that everyone orbited around without acknowledging. I noticed the way the men in the far corner kept glancing at him. Not threatening glances, checking glances. The way soldiers check on their general. That's when I knew something was actually, genuinely wrong. "You doing okay?" I asked, breaking my own rule. He looked up. His eyes were dark gray, nearly black in the low light, and they hit me like a physical force. Not because they were attractive, though they were, in a way that made my stomach drop, but because they were observing me, really observing. Most people look at bartenders like they're sentient part of the furniture. Marco looked at me like he was reading a language only he understood. "Define okay," he said quietly. My hands stilled on the glass I was drying. "That bad?" "Worse." He tilted his head, studying me in a way that should have felt invasive but didn't. It felt like he was checking if I was real. "Do you ever wonder if you're a good person, or if you've just convinced yourself you are?" The question hit something exposed in my chest. I'd left my father's house at 18 specifically because I couldn't answer that question anymore, not around him. "Every day," I heard myself say. Something flickered across his face. Not quite a smile, more like a door opening in the dark. "You're honest. That's dangerous." "So are you," I said, "but not in the way you think people know." He went very still, the kind of still that happens before something breaks. "Who told you?" "No one." I set down the glass, met his eyes directly. "You sit in a corner booth. You watch doors. You drink like you're trying to poison something inside yourself. The men over there check you like you're a bomb they're diffusing. And you..." I paused, searching for the right words. "You look like someone who's been carrying something heavy for so long you forgot you don't have to anymore." The tremor in his hands had stopped. Now his fingers were steady on the glass, but his knuckles had gone white. "If you're smart," he said, his voice dropping lower, "you'll stop seeing things. I'm a bartender. Seeing things is the job." "No." He leaned forward, and I caught his scent cologne like smoke and leather, something underneath that was just him. "You're not seeing things. You're seeing me. That's the difference." My heart was doing something unsustainable in my chest. Every instinct I had was screaming to step back, to apologize, to go refill the beer cooler and pretend this conversation never happened. Instead, I asked, "What are you running from?" His laugh was sharp, almost painful. "Arya, it's Arya, right?" He'd never used my name before. The way he said it rewired something in my nervous system. "I'm not running from anything. I'm running toward something. That's worse." "What?" He stood up slowly, pulled out a fold of cash, and set it on the bar. "Easily $500 for a $200 drink. Answers I shouldn't want," he said, "from people I should destroy." He left before I could respond. I watched him walk to the door, Watched the men in the corner acknowledge his exit with a subtle nod. Watched the woman with the black eye flinch when his shadow passed her booth. My hands were shaking now. I picked up the glass he'd left behind. A lipstick mark in the shape of his mouth was still visible on the rim. And I made a decision I'd later regret. I didn't wash it. I set it under the bar, wrapped it in a clean towel, and told myself it was evidence. Evidence of what? I didn't know yet, but something had cracked open in the dark of that bar, and I was beginning to fall through it. The next night, he didn't come back. The night after that, the bar burned down. The fire department called it electrical. I called it a message. Insurance wouldn't touch it, not after they found the trace accelerant. Not after they discovered the perfectly timed window of vulnerability at 4 a.m. Not after someone leaked to the news that I'd been asking suspicious questions about regular customers. So I wasn't surprised when Marco found me. I was sitting on the curb across the street, wrapped in a blanket provided by FDNY, watching my income and my life burn into ash. When the black Mercedes pulled up, no dramatic entrance, just a car, a door opening, and him stepping out like he owned the sidewalk. "Get in," he said. "Go to hell. Already booked my reservation." He opened the passenger door. "But I'm postponing the trip. Get in the car, Arya." I didn't move. Around us, firefighters called to each other, water hissed against superheated metal, and the smell of burned wood infiltrated everything. A few people glanced our direction. Marco barely registered their attention. "If you stay here," he said quietly, "whoever did this will come back to finish it. They'll assume you saw something. They'll assume I told you something. Either way, you're marked." "Then why would getting in your car help?" "Because I'm worse than them." He wasn't boasting. He was stating fact. And right now, being in my circle is the only protection that matters. I looked at my burning bar. At the people I'd served drinks to, the regulars who'd become like family. At the tips they'd left me, the conversations I'd listened to, the small kindnesses I'd offered that felt like the only good thing I was doing in the world. All of it was ash. I got in the car. The interior smelled like him, smoke and leather and something metallic underneath. The seats were leather so soft it felt like a sin. He drove with one hand on the wheel, the other resting on the console, and didn't speak for a long time. "I wasn't at the bar last night to get drunk," he finally said. "I was there to see you." I didn't respond. My hands were shaking, and I gripped the fabric of the blanket tighter. "Someone told you a piece of the truth. It was reckless. It was unforgivable, and now you're burning for it. Is this your fault?" The words came out small, not directly, which meant yes, but I'm responsible regardless. That's not how responsibility works. "No," he agreed. "It's not, but that's how my world works." He drove us to a penthouse in Tribeca, the kind of place that doesn't advertise itself. No sign, no doorman, just a private elevator that led to a floor that probably shouldn't exist. The apartment was all floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, modern furniture in blacks and grays, and absolutely no personality. It looked like the home of someone who'd stopped living years ago and just hadn't left the building. "Shower," he said. "Then we'll talk." "I don't want Arya." He turned to face me fully, and the way he said my name stopped my breath. "Right now you have 3 options. You can run, and I'll find you because people like me always find people like you. You can go to the police, and they'll arrest everyone except the people who actually did this, because my lawyers are better than their evidence. Or you can stay here, let me explain what's happening, and decide if you want to keep living." My mouth went dry. "Those aren't options. Those are threats with different endings." "Yes." At least he was honest. The shower was huge, with a rainfall showerhead and soap that cost more than my daily wages. I stood under the hot water and tried not to think about how I'd gone from burning my bar to accepting hospitality from someone who smelled like violence. When I came out, wrapped in a towel he'd left for me, there were clothes on the bed. My size, my style, like he'd known. "Okay," I said, sitting across from him in the living room. He was holding a drink now, but his hands were steady. "Explain." Marco took a long moment. "My father built an empire. Drugs, weapons, human trafficking, money laundering, the full catalog of American evil. When he died, I inherited it." "And you just kept it going?" "At first, yes. Then I realized something." He swirled the drink, watching the liquid move. "The only way to survive in that world is to be someone who doesn't exist inside it. You have to become a ghost." "I don't understand." "My father was feared. I'm invisible. He used violence as a message. I used the threat of violence to prevent it. He wanted to be known. I want to be forgotten." He looked at me, And then you started seeing me. My heart rate spiked. What does that mean? It means you asked questions that no one in my world is supposed to ask. It means you noticed things about me that contradict who I'm supposed to be. It means someone realized that if you kept talking, kept observing, you'd eventually say something to the wrong person. And that person would come for you. So they burned down my bar. They burned down your bar to send me a message. That I'm sloppy. That I let civilians get too close. That I'm vulnerable. Something twisted in my chest. Am I? Vulnerable, I mean? To me? He set down his drink. Completely. Which is exactly why you should be terrified of me. But I wasn't terrified. That was the problem. I was sitting in a penthouse belonging to a mafia boss who just admitted he was responsible for my life burning down. And instead of fear, I felt something more dangerous. I felt like I'd fallen through a door and found something on the other side that was waiting for me. What happens now? I asked. Now, Marco said, standing up. You stay here. You don't leave. You don't call anyone. And I figure out who violated my territory and remind them why I'm the ghost everyone fears. And then, he looked at me for a long moment. Then we decide if what you saw in me is real, or just a reflection you created because you needed to believe something good still existed in your life. He was right. And I hated him for it. But I stayed anyway. 3 weeks inside the penthouse. And I'd learned more about Marco Rossi than I should have. His real name wasn't Marco Rossi. That was the name his father's empire used. His actual name was Daniel. He preferred silence. He took his coffee black at exactly 6 a.m., showered in ice-cold water, and read financial reports like some people read scripture. He had a scar on his ribs that he never explained, a habit of touching the corner of his mouth when he was thinking, and a phone that rang at unpredictable hours with conversations he conducted in Italian that sounded like ordering executions. He was meticulous about not touching me. We'd sleep in the same bed, he insisted on it. Said he needed to know I wasn't leaving, but he maintained a distance that felt like a physical wall. His back to mine. His breath carefully controlled. Every morning I'd wake to find him already gone, already showered, already back into the armor he wore like skin. It was driving me insane. Tell me about the scar, I said one morning, watching him button up a shirt the color of smoke. No, that's not fair. Fairness is a concept invented by people with options. He didn't look at me. I don't have options, Arya. I have obligations. To who? Your organization? To myself. He finally turned, and his eyes were that dark gray that made me feel like I was drowning. I made a choice a long time ago. I chose not to be my father. Every decision since then is me proving that choice means something. And does it? Ask me again when we're not hiding in a penthouse because someone tried to erase you from existence. He left before I could respond. He always did. That's when the second message arrived. It came via courier to the building's security desk. A box wrapped in black paper. Marco opened it with the kind of careful precision that suggested he'd defused bombs before. And inside was a human finger, fresh, still bleeding slightly into the white silk it was resting on. And a note. She walks. Or she burns. Your choice. Okay, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Okay, so that's a problem. Marco was looking at the finger like it was a math equation that didn't balance. This is my cousin. Or was. Oh my God. His name was Luca. He was weak, but he was family. Marco still wasn't moving. Whoever sent this just declared war, and they're using you as the weapon. Then let me go. Tell them I'll leave. Tell them I'll disappear. No. He looked at me. If you leave, they kill you and take their victory. If you stay, I destroy them completely. Those are the only two outcomes. There has to be a third option. There isn't. There never is. In this world. He walked to the window, looking out at the city like it was a kingdom he'd inherited and hated. Not anymore. That night, Marco came to bed different. He wasn't maintained. He wasn't controlled. He smelled like bourbon and violence, and when he pulled me against him, it wasn't gentle. It was desperate. His hands moved over my back like he was checking to make sure I was real, that I was still there. I'm sorry, he said into my hair. I'm so sorry. For what? All of this. For your bar. For your life. For the fact that knowing you means knowing the worst parts of me. I turned to face him. In the dark of the penthouse, I could barely see him, but I could feel him. His heartbeat, his breath, the tremor that came back when no one was watching. Show me, I said. Show you what? The worst parts. The scar. The choice you made. Show me what I'm actually standing inside of. He was quiet for so long I thought he'd say no. Then he lifted his shirt. The scar started at his ribs and curved down toward his hip. a thick raised line that looked like someone had tried to carve out his soul. There were other marks too, smaller ones, cigarette burns maybe, or systematic injuries that had been allowed to scar. My father, Marco said softly. He liked to teach lessons with pain. This one was about what happens when you show weakness. This one, he pointed to a smaller burn on his collarbone, was about pride. This one was about mercy. I traced the scar without asking permission, and he let me. His breathing changed. His hands clenched in the sheets. How old were you? 14. It took 3 weeks to stop bleeding. He wanted to make sure I remembered it. I wanted to say something that would help, that would make it better, but there were no words. So instead I pressed my mouth to the scar. Just once. Just enough to say that I saw it, that I knew it existed, that it didn't make him less. He made a sound that might have been pain or relief. And then his hands were in my hair, pulling me toward him. And his mouth was on mine. It wasn't gentle. It was a collision, a confession, a surrender. It tasted like smoke and salt water, and every dangerous thing I'd ever wanted to touch. I can't protect you and touch you, he whispered against my mouth. I have to choose. Then stop protecting me, I said. He pulled back, gripping my face in both hands. That's not how this works. That's not. I know. I don't care. This time when he kissed me, it was slower. It was a commitment. His hands moved over my skin like he was memorizing me, like he was building a map of everything he wanted to burn down to protect. We didn't go further than that night. He wouldn't let us. But afterward, holding me while I fell asleep, he whispered something in Italian. The same phrase, over and over, like a prayer or a promise. I didn't know what it meant. I'd learn later it was, mi sei tutto. You are everything. The war started on a Tuesday. Marco's organization, he called it the Network, which was both vague and terrifying, moved with surgical precision. I watched from the penthouse as men in dark suits came and went, as phone calls that lasted 12 seconds coordinated things I didn't understand, as Marco transformed into someone I recognized but had never truly met. This version of him didn't exist in bars. He existed in the spaces between legal and legal gray, in shadows that had their own shadows. Dmitry Volkov is challenging my territory, Marco explained, spreading photos across the glass coffee table like a crime scene. He's been moving heroin through the port. He's flipped 2 of my handlers, and he's using you as justification. I studied the photographs. Dmitry was enormous, the kind of large that came from violence and size combined. He had scars on his face that looked like someone had tried to erase his features. Why me? I asked. Because I'm supposed to be untouchable. I'm supposed to be the ghost in the machine. The second he proves I have something to lose, I'm vulnerable. Marco was calm in a way that was absolutely terrifying. He's right. I'm vulnerable. I've been vulnerable since the moment you asked me a question at 2 in the morning. So what are you going to do? Disappear him? The casual way he said it should have horrified me. It did horrify me. But it also clarified something I'd been avoiding. I was complicit now. I was inside the machine. There was no separating myself from what Marco was anymore. Show me, I said. He looked at me like I'd spoken in a language he didn't recognize. Show me the network. Show me how you work. Show me what I'm actually involved with. Absolutely not. Why? Because I'm delicate? I stood, moved closer to him. You've shown me your scars. You've shown me that you're willing to destroy people to protect me. Show me the rest. The rest will destroy you. I'm already destroyed. The bar burned down. Everything I built is gone. So either I mourn that by hiding in a penthouse, or I rebuild by understanding what I'm actually standing inside of. He studied me for a long time. Then he stood, grabbed a jacket, and said, "Come on." We drove to a warehouse in Red Hook at midnight. The kind of building that doesn't have a name, just a location that certain people know. Marco led me inside, down corridors that smelled like concrete and old money, until we reached a room where 5 men were positioned around a table where Dmitry Volkov was tied to a chair. He'd been worked on already. His face was destruction. His hands were broken. He was still conscious, which seemed like the kind of detail that Marco would care about. "This is why I don't touch you," Marco said quietly, his hand on the small of my back. "This is why I keep distance. Because this is what I am underneath the suits and the controlled breathing." Dmitry's head lifted slightly. His eyes, the one that wasn't swollen shut, locked onto me. "He makes you watch?" Dmitry laughed, which came out as a wet, gurgling sound. "He makes you see what he really is?" "Shut up," one of the other men said, and hit him. But Dmitry was looking at me, and something in his expression shifted, changed. "You don't know, do you? What he's actually..." Marco's hand tightened on my back. Stop. She thinks you're protecting her. She has no idea you're... The sound was sudden and final. One of the men had shot Dimitri in the head. Just like that. Conversation ended. Problem solved. I was going to be sick. Marco pulled me out of the room before I could fall apart, led me to a bathroom where I vomited into a steel sink while he held my hair back. This was tenderness in his world, holding someone's hair while they processed violence. I warned you, he said softly. What was he going to say? What was Dimitri trying to tell me? Does it matter? Yes. Marco waited a long moment. He was going to say that I didn't protect you out of love. He was going to say that I needed you, because you're leverage. Because having someone to lose makes me predictable, makes me controllable. My hands were shaking. Is that true? At first, Marco said. 3 weeks ago, yes. You were a liability I needed to contain. You were information I needed to control. But, he paused, and his voice dropped. But you stopped being that around day 9. What changed? You asked me who I really am. And instead of lying, I told you. He met my eyes in the mirror. That's never happened before. I've never told anyone the truth. I've never wanted to, but you made me want to. You made me want to be someone worth the scars you're looking at. I turned around in the bathroom and pressed myself against him. He was warm and solid and absolutely the wrong person to be holding, but he was holding me back like I was the only true thing in his entire manufactured world. I'm scared, I whispered. Good, he said. Fear means you're paying attention. When we left the warehouse, the body was gone and the room was being cleaned. This was how his world worked. Clean, efficient, final. But something else had happened that night. Something that changed the weight of how I was standing inside his life. I'd seen him do the thing he said he was. And instead of running, instead of breaking, I'd come back to him. Which meant either I was broken too, or I'd fallen into something that looked like love but might actually be something far more dangerous. Trauma bonding. Maybe. Or the sickness that comes from being isolated with someone long enough that you start believing their version of the world. Or maybe, and this was the thought that kept me awake while Marco slept beside me, maybe I'd actually become what he was. A ghost. Something that existed in shadows, that hurt people to protect people, that had stopped being able to separate right from necessary. On day 25, Marco came back to the penthouse with a specific kind of calm in his expression. It's finished, he said. Volkov's organization is disbanded. His remaining people have scattered. You're safe now. Am I? I asked. He looked at me like he didn't understand the question. That's when I realized. He didn't know. He had no framework for what I'd become. Neither did I. The safe house became a prison the moment safety stopped being a blessing. Without the threat of Dimitri, without the constant low-level danger that had defined our weeks in the penthouse, Marco and I were left with each other and no external force forcing closeness. The distance he'd maintained through necessity was now a choice, and he was choosing it. Come with me, I said on day 32, watching him prepare for another meeting that would take hours, that would involve decisions I couldn't ask about. No. Why not? The war is over. Dimitri is. I stopped myself from saying the word. Dead. He was dead. And men had cleaned up his death like it was a minor spill on linoleum. The threat is neutralized. The threat hasn't changed. Marco was buttoning his shirt with mechanical precision. Now it's just different people. Volkov's associates who want revenge. The families he was aligned with. The suppliers who need a new connection. The war never ends, Arya. It just changes which weapons we're using. Then why did you let me think it was finished? Because you needed to believe it. He finally looked at me, and his expression was the one I hated most. The one where he was looking at me like I was something he'd already lost. You needed to believe that I was worth something beyond body counts and territory disputes. You are worth something. To who? He walked to the window, looking out at the city that glittered below like a circuit board made of light. To the people I've hurt? To the families I've destroyed? To you, who I burned out of your home and then held prisoner in this building? You didn't hold me prisoner, didn't I? He turned, and there was something broken in his voice. Could you leave right now? I didn't answer, which was answer enough. That's what I thought. He moved toward me, and there was hunger in it, but the kind of hunger that came from starvation. I need you to hate me. I need you to realize that what you feel is just Stockholm Syndrome mixed with gratitude. Mixed with the fact that I'm dangerous enough to make you feel alive. Is that what you think this is? It's what I know this is. His hands found my face, and they were trembling. Marco's hands were never trembling. Because if it's not, if what you feel is real, then I have to make a choice I'm not equipped to make. What choice? Between the ghost I've become and the man I could be. And Arya, I don't know how to be a man anymore. I've been a ghost for too long. I kissed him, because there was nothing else to do. Because words were failing us. Because the only language we'd ever truly shared was the one made of bodies and breath, and the terrible honesty of touch. He kissed me back like he was saying goodbye. Later, while he slept, I went through his study and found something I shouldn't have found. A file, leather-bound, with my name on the spine. Inside were photographs. Of me, of my bar, of my father's house, which I hadn't even known anyone had documented. Medical records from the local clinic where I'd gone to treat a broken arm that my father had given me when I was 16. Court documents from the case I'd never filed against him. Notes in Marco's handwriting. Father-related trauma, high pain tolerance, low trust in authority, excellent survival instincts. He hadn't just found me and protected me. He'd built a profile of me. He'd studied me like a predator studies prey. And then he'd decided I was worth keeping. I was putting everything back when he found me. "I know what you found," he said. He wasn't angry. He was past anger. "I know what that looks like. When did you start building this?" I held up the file like it was evidence. "After the first night you spoke to me. After you asked me those questions that no one is supposed to ask." He moved closer, and I didn't back away. "I needed to understand you. I needed to know if you were a threat or if you were something else. And what did you decide? That you were both." He took the file from my hands and tossed it aside. "That you were a threat to everything I'd built, because you made me want to burn it down. And that you were something else because being near you made me feel like maybe the ghost could be real again. You don't get to decide that about me. You don't get to make me into your redemption story." "I know." He pulled me close and his voice was breaking. "That's why I'm going to let you go." The words hit like a physical force. "What?" "Tomorrow I'm giving you money. A lot of it. Enough to disappear, to start over, to build a new life somewhere no one knows my name. And I'm not going to follow you. I'm not going to track you. I'm not going to..." His voice cracked. "I'm not going to ruin you by keeping you. I don't want to go. You have to." "No, I don't. I'm choosing to stay. I'm choosing you." He held me at arm's length, looking at my face like he was trying to memorize it. "Don't you understand? By choosing me, you're choosing this. You're choosing the ghost. You're choosing a life where people die and you have to pretend it's necessary. You're choosing..." I kissed him again, cutting off the words, the rationalization, the way he was trying to noble heart his way out of this. When I pulled back, I was crying. "I'm choosing both, the ghost and the man, the dangerous parts and the broken parts. I'm choosing all of it because it's yours. And I'm already so inside of this that there's no separating anymore." He held me like that for a long time, neither of us moving, both of us trying to figure out how to exist in the space between who we were supposed to be and who we'd actually become. "Okay," he finally said. "Okay. But understand what I'm saying. If you stay, everything changes. You stop being a civilian. You become part of the network. You stop being protected, you become weaponized." "I know. And you're still choosing?" "Yes." He took a breath that sounded like a man surfacing from underwater. Then he kissed me again. And it was different this time. It was surrender. It was acceptance. It was the moment when the ghost finally stopped trying to separate himself from the man underneath. The morning Marco introduced me to the network as something other than a liability. I understood that I'd crossed a threshold I could never recross. He took me to a restaurant in Little Italy that didn't have a name, just an address that certain people knew. The kind of place where the owner kept a reservation open for him at all times, where waiters moved with careful eyes, where the back room was separated from the front by a kitchen that had too many exits. "Arya," Marco said, his hand on the small of my back. "This is Salvatore. He's been with my organization for 23 years. He handles logistics." Salvatore was older, maybe 60, with the kind of weathered face that suggested he'd seen violence and learned to move through it without flinching. He studied me with open assessment, the way a jeweler studies a stone. "So," Salvatore said in accented English, "you're the one who made the ghost visible." "Something like that," I said. Salvatore smiled, and it transformed his face. "Good. Daniel has been alone for too long. The ghost doesn't have appetites, but the man underneath does." Marco's grip on my back tightened slightly. "We'll need to integrate her security clearance into the network infrastructure. She needs to understand operations without being operational." "You're making her a partner," Salvatore observed. "I'm making her protected," Marco corrected. "Which means she needs to understand the structure." "No," Salvatore shook his head. "You can protect her without that knowledge. I've known you since you were a boy, Daniel. I've watched you build something that shouldn't exist. I've watched you use her as permission to build it. And now you're bringing her into the system itself. That's not protection. That's binding. Marco didn't respond, but his hand on my back became a caress instead of a gesture of control. Over the next few hours, Salvatore explained the network to me like I was studying for a degree in organized crime. It wasn't as dramatic as I expected. There were no guns on the table, no dramatic explanations of territory. Instead, there were spreadsheets, logistics, money flowing through specific accounts that looked legitimate because they were construction companies, restaurants, consulting firms that existed just to move capital from point A to point B. The genius of it, Salvatore explained, is that there is nothing technically illegal. We don't traffic drugs. We don't run guns. We facilitate movement. We provide services to people who exist in the spaces between legal and illegal. And we take a percentage for our discretion. You make money off of other people's crimes, I said. We make money off of their need for invisibility, Salvatore corrected. There's a difference, is there? Yes. Salvatore leaned back, studying me. I think you already understand this, or you wouldn't still be here. The question isn't whether my hands are clean. The question is whether they're necessary. And are they? He smiled. You should ask Marco that question. The restaurant closed around us as night deepened. Marco and I sat alone in the back room, surrounded by the infrastructure of his invisible world, and I asked him what I'd been avoiding. Do you have blood on your hands? Actually, specifically blood that you've shed personally? Yes. No equivocation. No justification. How many people? Enough that I've stopped counting. Why? Because counting would mean I'm still the person who thinks about it. And I can't be that person. He was looking at a glass of wine, not touching it. The moment I start counting, I'm vulnerable. The moment I start justifying, I'm breakable. So I stopped. I do what's necessary, and I accept that I'm damned for it. And now, with me? Now, he looked at me, and something soft moved across his expression. Now I have someone who knows I'm damned and stays anyway. That changes things. Changes them how? It makes me think I might deserve something other than damnation. He reached across the table and touched my palm like he was testing whether I was real. But it also means I have to accept that I'm damning you too. By keeping you, by binding you to my network, I'm making you complicit. I'm making your hands bloody. They're already bloody, I said quietly. I'm not going to walk away and pretend they're not. Arya, you made a choice with me. That warehouse, when Dimitri was tied to that chair and I watched him die, you made me choose. You showed me what you actually are and asked me to accept it. You did that because you needed someone to see you completely. I squeezed his hand. So I'm seeing you completely. And I'm choosing this. Not blindly. Not because I'm broken. But because the alternative is a life where I pretend you don't exist and I never find out what I'm actually capable of being. He turned my hand over, tracing the lines of my palm, like they were a map of who I was going to become. The network will ask me to trust you, he said. That means sending you somewhere you might die. That means asking you to make decisions that will haunt you. That means treating you like you're as dangerous as I am. Okay, you say that now. I'll say it later too. He lifted my hand to his mouth and kissed the center of my palm. It was gentle in a way that nothing about him should have been able to be. I love you, he said. The words fell into the space between us like stones into still water. And that's the most dangerous thing I could possibly do. I know, I said. I love you too. We didn't move for a long time after that. We just sat across the table from each other, hands connected, understanding that love in his world wasn't about roses or promises. It was about choosing to be destroyed together, rather than destroyed apart. The betrayal came from inside the network. I learned about it the way I learned about most things now. By listening to conversations Marco thought I was asleep through. By reading encrypted messages on phones he left accessible. By becoming the kind of woman who could hold other people's secrets and add them to her own. Salvatore was stealing. Small amounts, unnoticeable unless you were looking for them. But amounts that, over 23 years, added up to approximately $4 million. I was holding this information, weighing whether to tell Marco, when Salvatore called me directly. Meet me, he said. No greeting, no preamble. No. Then your boyfriend dies. Untraceable, permanent, by morning. I met him at the restaurant an hour later. He was waiting in the back room, the same one where I'd learned about the network's structure. He looked smaller somehow, or maybe just older, like the weight of his secret had been slowly compressing him. You know what I did, he said. Yes. And you were going to tell him. I don't know. I hadn't decided. That's a lie. Salvatore poured himself a drink. You love him too much to let him be betrayed. You would have told him eventually. So I'm going to tell you first, and you're going to decide what happens next. That's not how this works. Marco makes those decisions. No, Salvatore said softly. That's exactly how it should work. That's why I need you, not him. He told me about a daughter in Boston, about a condition that required treatment that insurance wouldn't cover, about medical bills that had destroyed him piece by piece until he'd started taking money to make her better. Just a little, just enough to save her life. She's 16 now, Salvatore said. She's alive because of what I've stolen. She's going to college because of money I took from Daniel's network. And now what? You expect me to feel sympathy? I expect you to understand that loyalty has limits. That love sometimes means betraying the people you care about to protect them from becoming like me. He met my eyes. I've watched Daniel for almost 30 years. I was there when his father was breaking him. I was there when he built himself into a ghost. And I've watched him fall apart since you arrived because you made him human again. That's good. No, it's dangerous. Salvatore's voice was breaking. Because a human ghost is worse than a ghost. A human ghost can be hurt. A human ghost can be manipulated. And now you're all he has, which means you're his only weakness. So what? You steal from him because you love him? I steal from him because I'm trying to disappear before someone uses me to destroy him. Salvatore stood, walked to the window. There are people who would pay everything for information about how his network functions. And I'm reaching an age where I'm starting to think about mortality. Starting to think about what my daughter would want to know about her father's choices. I understood then what he was telling me. You're going to sell him out. I'm going to try not to. Salvatore turned. But I need your help. I need you to convince him to let me go. I need you to convince him that I'm worth freeing rather than destroying. And if I can't, then I sell what I know to someone who will make this network crumble into ash. And I do it because I'm trying to save him from himself. I left without responding and went directly to Marco. He listened to the entire conversation without moving, without reacting, until I finished. Then he stood and walked to the window, the same window Salvatore had looked out of an hour earlier. He's right, Marco said quietly. He's right about all of it. No, he's not. He is. Marco's voice was absolutely flat. Salvatore has been waiting for a reason to disappear for years. And now he has one. Now he has a daughter whose future he can justify any betrayal for. So what do you do? What I've always done. Marco turned to face me. I eliminate the threat. I make an example. I ensure no one else thinks they can steal from me. And Salvatore? Salvatore dies. The words were said with such absence of emotion that I felt them like a temperature drop. And his daughter is protected. His wife is taken care of. The people he loves continue living because I'm still the ghost he fears. That's not... It's exactly what it is. Marco moved closer. This is the choice, Arya. This is what loving me actually means. Salvatore betrayed me. Salvatore stole from me. Salvatore was planning to destroy everything I've built. And I'm going to have him killed while making sure his family is secure. That's mercy in my world. It's murder. Yes. He looked at me like he was seeing if I'd finally break. It's murder. And if you can't live with that, if you can't accept that this is what I am, then you need to leave. Right now. I'll give you money. I'll give you protection. I'll give you everything. But you need to walk away. I can't. You can. You just won't. I won't. I agreed. But not because I'm afraid of losing you. Because I'm afraid of losing myself. Then you understand what's happening. I do. My voice was breaking. I understand that I've become someone who accepts murder as mercy. That I've stopped being able to separate the monster from the man. That I'm so compromised now that there's no distinction between us anymore. Marco pulled me against him, and his chest was heaving like he was trying to hold back something violent. Tell me to stop, he whispered. Tell me to let him go and I will. I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But instead I said, do what you have to do. And I felt something break inside me. Some final wall that I'd been using to tell myself I was still redeemable, that I could still walk away from this, that I hadn't already fallen completely into the dark. That wall was gone now. There was just the dark, and Marco, and the person I was becoming inside of it. Salvatore didn't die cleanly. Marco didn't make it quick, which told me everything I needed to know about how betrayal landed in his emotional world. It wasn't clean. It was personal. It was the kind of death that was meant to send a message that went beyond simple business correction. When I asked Marco to show me, he said no. I don't hide what I am anymore, he said. But I'm not going to make you watch the specific details of my vengeance. That's where I draw the line. Why? Because if you watch me destroy someone slowly, it erases something in you that I still need to exist. I need to know that somewhere inside you, There's still a part that knows the difference between necessary and cruel. So I didn't watch, but I heard about it. The network talked about it. And over the next week, I watched Marco become more ghost than man. The boy underneath the armor, the one that Salvatore's betrayal had briefly called forward, disappeared again. He was withdrawn, mechanically going through the motions of running his empire. But the part of me he'd loved seemed inaccessible. I'd suggested he let Salvatore go, implied I couldn't accept who he really was, and he'd answered by becoming exactly what I'd feared. On day 52, I found him in his study in the pre-dawn hours, looking at photographs of Salvatore's daughter. "She's going to be fine," he said. "I've set up trust funds. Her college is paid for. Her mother doesn't know where the money's coming from, but it's there. Marco, I'm a monster, Arya. I'm not going to pretend otherwise anymore. I'm not going to dress it up as protection or necessity or mercy. I murdered a man because he betrayed me and stole from me. I did it personally. I did it slowly. And then I made sure his family wouldn't suffer for it." He looked at me. "That's who I am. That's not, please." His voice was sharp. "Please don't tell me I'm more than this. Please don't tell me that I still have goodness inside. I can't hear that right now. I can't pretend it's true when you know exactly what I'm capable of. What if I'm not asking you to pretend? What if I'm asking you to accept that you're both, that you're capable of murder and mercy simultaneously? That's insanity." "No," I said quietly. "That's being human." He looked at me like I was the cruelest thing he'd ever encountered. The attack came 2 days later. We were leaving a restaurant when the first car hit us. It was orchestrated. I realized immediately, a coordinated assault with timing that someone had spent days planning. The men who emerged from the vehicles were professionals, equipped with weapons that were meant to be visible, meant to terrify. Marco moved like violence was a language he'd been born speaking. His hand pushed me toward the door of the restaurant, while his other hand was already reaching for the gun he kept under his jacket. He fired once, and one of the men screamed. "Go," he commanded. I didn't go. Instead, I moved to the side, creating space. And when one of the attackers turned toward Marco, I threw a bottle I'd grabbed from a nearby table. It connected with his throat, and he dropped. It was instinctive. It was survival. It was the part of me that had already become what Marco was. 3 of Marco's security team appeared from somewhere they'd been following us, I realized. They engaged with the attackers, and the street became a war zone. Gunfire, screaming, the smell of blood and cordite. One of the attackers broke through the security line and came directly at me. He was fast, probably trained, and I didn't have the experience to fight him. He tackled me into the side of a parked car, and I felt my ribs crack. The pain was white-hot and pure. Then Marco was there, and I watched him do something that I'd been seeing in pieces but had never witnessed whole. I watched him dismantle another human being with clinical precision. No anger, no emotion, just efficient destruction. When it was finished, Marco was covered in blood that wasn't his, and the man was no longer moving. Ever moving. "Arya." Marco dropped to his knees in front of me. "Arya, where are you hurt?" "Ribs," I gasped. "I think..." He lifted me up carefully, and I heard him giving orders in Italian. Heard him say something that made the remaining security team move with sudden urgency. Then I was in the car, in his lap, and he was holding me like I was something precious and fragile. "I've got you," he whispered. "I've got you. I'm not letting go." The hospital was private, the kind of place that existed outside normal channels. A doctor who'd been called came immediately, probably because she was on Marco's payroll. She examined my ribs, told me 2 were cracked but not broken, and injected me with something that made the pain become a distant, irrelevant thing. "You'll be fine," she said. "Your boyfriend has very good insurance." When we were alone, Marco sat on the edge of the bed and I could see him shake. Actually shake. Like the shock of the attack was finally hitting him. "Who were they?" I asked. "Luca's cousin. Luca's cousin's associates." Marco's voice was raw. "People who've been waiting for an opening. They found it when you showed up. They knew you were my weakness. What are you going to do?" "What I should have done weeks ago." Marco looked at me. "I'm going to burn them. Every single person connected to that attack. Every family member. Every business they touched. I'm going to make sure no one ever tries to use you against me again. Marco, I'm going to destroy everyone involved. And then I'm going to give you the option to walk away. Because I can't keep you in this world. I can't keep watching you become like me." The monitor next to my bed beeped steadily, marking the rhythm of my heartbeat, of my survival, of the fact that I was alive because Marco had made the choice to save me instead of running. "I don't want to walk away," I said. You will. Eventually. When you realize that loving me is going to require you to become a person you despise. I already despise myself, I said quietly. So I'm going to stay and despise myself with you. Because that's better than despising myself alone. Marco made a sound that was half laugh, half sob, and pulled me carefully against him. For the first time since we'd met, I felt him truly break. Recovery took 2 weeks. During those 2 weeks, Marco executed his promise. He burned through Luca's cousin's network like a man purifying the world with fire. The speed was shocking. I'd underestimated how deeply his organization was embedded into the city's infrastructure, how many tools he had access to, how absolutely thorough he could be when he was protecting something he loved. And he was protecting me. I understood that completely now. The violence he was committing wasn't madness or cruelty, it was architecture. It was him building walls so thick, so impenetrable, so catastrophic that no one would ever think to test them again. When I was well enough to walk, he took me to a safe location outside the city. A house in the Berkshires that was isolated enough to feel like the rest of the world didn't exist. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking mountains. A fireplace that heated the entire first floor. Silence that was so complete it felt like a living thing. I'm keeping you here, Marco said. For as long as it takes for the threat to fully disperse. How long? However long is necessary. I should have felt trapped. Instead, I felt safe in a way I'd never experienced. The network was operating from a distance, but Marco was present in a way he'd never been in the penthouse. We existed together in those days. We cooked meals, we read books, we had conversations that didn't have anything to do with violence or power. One afternoon, he told me about his mother, who'd died when he was very young, who'd loved music, who'd spent her last days protecting him from his father's rage. She's why I'm built for this, Marco said. We were sitting on the deck, watching the forest turn into silhouettes as the sun set. She taught me that protection is more important than truth, that sometimes you have to become something you hate to save the people you love. She sounds incredible. She was. He took my hand. And I'm terrified I'm like her. Terrified that I'm destroying myself to protect you, and that you're going to resent me for it. I could never resent you. Give it time. But he smiled, and it was genuine. It was the first completely genuine smile I'd seen from him since the attack. Give it a year, 5 years, 10 years, and you might. You might realize that staying with me was the choice that ruined you. Or I might realize it was the choice that saved me, I said. He pulled me up from the chair and into his arms. We stood there as the sun finished setting, as the stars became visible in the darkening sky, and he kissed me like he was trying to memorize the moment, like he was trying to capture something that he knew was temporary. That night, in the bed we shared in that isolated house, Marco asked me the question I'd been waiting for him to ask since that first night in the penthouse. Will you marry me? It wasn't romantic. It wasn't a proposal. It was practical, almost clinical in its delivery. But underneath it was the question he was really asking. Will you stay? Will you choose this completely? Will you let me bind you to me legally, permanently, in a way that makes it official? Yes, I said. You should think about it. I have. I'm thinking about it right now. And yes, he didn't kiss me after that. Instead, he held me while I fell asleep, and when I woke in the middle of the night, he was still awake, holding me like he was afraid I'd disappear. The wedding was small, intimate, and technically illegal in several ways. A judge who owed Marco favors married us in the house. It was just us, the judge, Marco's doctor, and 2 of his security team members as witnesses. No photographer, no flowers, no white dress. I wore a black suit. Marco wore the same. We exchanged rings made of white gold that felt foreign and heavy on my fingers. When the judge asked if I took this man to be my husband, I said yes without hesitation. When the judge asked if he took me to be his wife, Marco looked at me like the question was absurd. Until the world burns, he said. It wasn't a conventional answer, but it was honest. That night, in the bedroom of the isolated house, Marco finally allowed himself to touch me completely. There was no restraint anymore, no distance. He moved over me like a man who'd been starving, and I opened myself to him because there was nothing left to protect, nothing left to hide. The vulnerability was immense. For the first time since I'd met him, Marco was completely unarmored, and I held him like that, while he trembled and broke apart against me, and I realized that this was what he'd been afraid of all along. Not that I'd stop loving him, but that I'd see how desperately, how completely, he needed me to stay. Afterward, wrapped around each other in the dark, he whispered the phrase in Italian that I'd heard him say before, the one Salvatore had translated. Mi sei tutto, he said. You are everything. Ti amo, I answered. I love you. It was the first time I'd said it in Italian, the first time I'd made it official in his language, which meant it was a blood oath in a way that English could never be. He held me tighter at the words, like he was securing something precious. Promise me something, he said. What? Promise me that when this is over, when I'm gone or old or unable to protect you anymore, that you'll find a way to remember who you were before me. Find a way to separate what I made you into from who you actually were. Marco, promise me. I promise, I said, though I was lying. There was no separating anymore. I was completely integrated into what he'd made me. I was as much monster as he was, as much ghost, as much shadow, but I was also loved. Completely, desperately, irrevocably loved. And maybe that was enough. 6 months into married life, Marco collapsed during a meeting with network associates. The doctors couldn't explain it. His body seemed to be shutting down from the inside, as if all the violence he'd absorbed, all the stress he'd carried, all the years of being something other than human had finally reached critical mass. I sat in hospital rooms that weren't supposed to exist. I held his hand while he slipped in and out of consciousness. I watched the ghost that had been slowly murdering him from the inside finally make itself visible. I'm dying, he said during a moment of clarity. His voice was barely above a whisper, and his hand was impossibly light in mine. My doctor says it's cellular degradation, that I've been burning through my body's resources like a machine that's being run at triple capacity. Then we stop, I said. We give the network to someone else. We leave. Where would we go? Anywhere, everywhere, nowhere. I don't care. He smiled, and it was sad. You still don't understand, do you? There is nowhere. The ghost doesn't get to disappear. The ghost gets to haunt until something kills it. Over the next 2 months, Marco arranged his final affairs with the same methodical precision he applied to everything. He transferred control of the network to Salvatore's son, who'd never known that his father had been betrayed, who received the revelation alongside his inheritance with a silence that suggested understanding. He established trusts for the families of the men he'd killed, pensions for the women in his organization, scholarships for the children of his associates. I'm trying to balance the scales, he said, knowing I can't. He also left me recordings. Hours and hours of them, his voice explaining the infrastructure of his network, the names of people I should trust, the protocols for safety. He was preparing me to run the empire after he was gone. I won't do it, I said when I realized what he was creating. You will. Because you understand now that this isn't evil. It's just the way the world operates underneath all the legal fiction. He was in bed now, too weak to get up, his body betraying him in ways that were visible and terrifying. And because the people inside the network need leadership that isn't afraid, that isn't trying to justify its power. You won't carry the weight of damnation. You'll just carry the weight of necessity. That's insane. Yes, he smiled. But it's the only inheritance I have to leave you. 30 days before he died, Marco took my face in both his hands and made me look at him directly. I need you to forgive me, he said, for burning your bar, for imprisoning you, for making you into something you didn't want to be. I forgive you. You don't get to do that just to make me feel better. His eyes were serious. You have to mean it. You have to actually believe that I did what was necessary. I do believe that. And I meant it. Somewhere in the months we'd spent together, my moral architecture had fundamentally shifted. I'd learned to see necessity in places I'd thought were purely evil. I'd learned to understand that good and bad were decisions made by people with limited options, not absolute properties. Then I can die knowing I didn't destroy you, he said. I just changed you. The last conversation we had was simple and mundane and devastating. I want to be cremated, he said. And I want you to put my ashes in a box and keep them somewhere close. I want to be a ghost that way too, everywhere and nowhere. Part of your life but not binding you to it. I could never... I know, you'll keep the ashes. You'll put them on a shelf and feel guilty that you're not carrying me with you every moment. And eventually, after I've been dead long enough that the guilt stops feeling fresh, you'll understand that keeping me close was always permission to let me go. He was right. I understood that even then. When he died, it was quiet. A breath in, a breath out. A moment where the monitor beside his bed went flat and steady, and the ghost finally became just a memory. I kept my promise. I put his ashes in a box made of ironwood, dark and heavy and beautiful. I placed it on the mantle in our penthouse. Our penthouse now, and I let the network know that the ghost had passed and new leadership had emerged. The network accepted me. Not without question, but with respect. Salvatore's son reached out within the week. and we had a conversation that was both a threat and an offer of alliance. "I'll take it," I said. "But I'm changing things. No more heroin, no more human trafficking. We move money and facilitate transactions, and that's it. Cleaner, safer, better." "My father would have approved," he said. "I hired people I could trust. I became the kind of leader who could sit in a room full of dangerous men and not flinch. I learned to read people the way Marco had taught me. I learned that power wasn't about being the most violent, it was about being the most willing to accept the consequences of your decisions." A year after Marco's death, I sat on the roof of the penthouse and looked out at the city that glittered below like a circuit board made of light. I was 32 years old. I was leading an organization that moved millions. I was a widow to a man no one knew had existed, and I was completely alone, but not in the way I'd feared. I was alone in the way that Marco had been alone before I met him, carrying a weight that no one else could understand, making decisions that would haunt me, existing in the spaces between right and necessary. I took out my phone and dialed Salvatore's son. "I'm ready to talk about expansion," I said. "And I want to do it on my terms, my rules, my version of the ghost." He agreed, and I felt Marco's presence in the conversation, not haunting me but guiding me. His ashes were safely stored, permission to move forward. His legacy was not the network I was running, but the person I'd become while standing inside of it. A woman who understood that salvation and damnation weren't opposites. A woman who could hold both in her hands without flinching. A woman who had been burned and broken and remade by the most feared mafia boss in the city, and who had made her choice to burn and break herself, repeatedly, with intention. That bartender from 3 years ago would have been horrified by who I'd become, but that bartender was also dead, cremated alongside Marco in some metaphorical way, transformed into something new, and I was at peace with the ghost I'd become.